if that cat could have jumped through the screen and attacked us, she would have. Hello and welcome to Everything's Fine, probably your weekly antidote to bad news. The show that believes we should be able to bring back happiness and hope, even if we did lose the receipt, spill coffee on the packaging and accidentally sit on the warranty. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I introduced you to Doctor Who's accidental swear word and suggested that if Nigel Farage turned up banging on with his usual blend of hypocrisy, grievance and pub carpet nationalism, you should simply tell him to spack off. And this week, I'd like to give a heartfelt shout out to the good people of Felixstowe who appear to have done exactly that. Maybe not in those exact words. According to ITV Anglia, Farage's planned walkabout in Felixstowe was curtailed after protesters heckled him, including the truly devastating tactical deployment of the Dad's Army theme tune. ITV also reported that Farage later said he felt intimidated by the protesters. Intimidated by what exactly? A handful of anti-reform protesters in the Dad's Army theme tune. It's not exactly political persecution, is it? It's just democracy having a bit of a sense of humour. You can't spend your entire political career cosplaying as the iron-jawed tribune of the people and then fold the second a few women in sensible coats turn up and look unimpressed. It's not a populist uprising, this. That's a man being emotionally outmanoeuvred by a village fete atmosphere. Nigel Farage increasingly gives the impression of someone who wants all the theatre of political combat, provided the audience remains silent, the critics are removed and everyone claps on cue like they're trapped in a low-budget North Korean panto. He talks constantly about free speech, but seems genuinely stunned every time anybody else has a go. His political philosophy is, I demand the right to say what I like, but if you answer me back, that's oppression. If you think I'm being unfair, please also bear in mind that this week, Nigel Farage appears to have stormed out of Prime Minister's questions after Keir Starmer absolutely unloaded on him. Farage had got up, as he often does, with the confidence of a man who's never once mistaken volume for substance, and asked Starmer about the channel crossings. And Starmer, to his credit, essentially replied by reading out Nigel Farage's own political CV like it was evidence at a tribunal. He pointed out Farage had voted against tougher border control legislation, he'd backed the Iran war, and then described him quite beautifully as a disgrace. Kind of like having your annual performance appraisal read out by your boss in front of the whole company. After that, in what I'll politely call a fit of parliamentary giddiness, Farage and his little reform entourage walked out of the Commons. Actually walked out. So that's Nigel Farage, the strongman politician who reacts to mild inconvenience like a Regency widow denied access to a fainting couch. So look, it's a great example of good news to open with, because if Nigel Farage can be defeated by heckling and a sitcom theme tune, maybe Britain's safer than we thought. And now, before I get accused of political bullying by a man frightened of light civic sarcasm, let's bring in the team. We've got Gemma, we've got Shelley, we've got Stuart. What more could you want? How are we all today?
Hi.
Hello.
Did
Hello.
anyone get pranked today?
No, did you?
No, I didn't. Unless I just didn't realise. But yeah, no April Fools today.
You're just too clever. That's what it is, Shelley. No one can make
No, I did. I remember once in my job, like April Fools was going to like land on a Saturday. So I spent like the end of Friday in the office setting up like a booby trap for the nurse who was going to be doing the weekend cover. And it was just really pathetic. Like I had a cup full of like hole punch holes. And I balanced it on top of the blinds, which we shut the blinds, balanced it on top of the blinds, so that when she came into the office in the morning and opened the blinds, this cup of hole punch holes would have just rained down on her. It didn't work though, because our office was like on a ward, and like someone has gone in there on the night shift to have their break.
Yeah.
And they activated it in the night.
I do find something quite worrying about nurses in the NHS playing April Fool's Day pranks on each other. Yeah, prepping for an operation or something like that, and there's pranks going on.
Yeah, and all you can hear, like, you know, somebody's really, really scared, and all they can hear in the background is
April Fool.
Yeah.
No, I didn't get pranked. I mean, I saw people were putting even more shit on social media and saying, "Ah, April Fool." But to be honest, that just felt like pretty much every other day where people put a load of lies on social media.
How would you know?
There's nothing different there.
AI slop.
All right, good. Well, obviously, I recapped a little bit on the Nigel Farage SPAC off stuff. We've got a bit of a recap from one of last week's stories. Shelley, tell us how the capybara hunt is going, please. I've been on tenterhooks all week.
I could tell. I can actually sense the tension on this.
Come on!
Tonight.
I need to know.
So the hunt for Samba, the capybara, who escaped Marwell Zoo, continues. She has now managed to evade capture for over 2 weeks. So if anyone was not aware of this story, Tango and Samba are two sisters who escaped through a hole in their temporary enclosure at Marwell Zoo after being transferred from Jimmy's farm in Suffolk. That wasn't your farm, was it?
No,
yours.
I don't have a farm.
Despite
what you may have heard. Fake news.
I just keep imagining like how much trouble somebody's probably in at the moment, though. Like there's someone who was like, it was their first day and they've really screwed up. So anyway, Tango was recovered very quickly, but Samba's still on the run. So I got really excited about this, not only because it's capybaras, and they are very cute. And I've been eyeing up some capybara slippers, not made of capybaras, made to look like capybaras.
No, I can see why this story's got personal interest in,
It's like I'm like Cruella de Vil on the hunt for this capybara at the moment. But also because Marwell Zoo is only about 15 minutes drive from where I live in Winchester. So I have been like very much hoping she's going to turn up. But it's not just me that's been quite invested. This has been quite a hot topic for all of the locals because, I mean, I feel we're quite lucky to live in a nice place. So actually this is as bad as like or big as news gets around here. But obviously this is just this little part of Hampshire that's like that. If you went down to like Portsmouth, Southampton, it's not so idyllic. Basingstoke is lovely if you really like roundabouts. Actually, that is a competition for Milton Keynes there. So yeah, everywhere else is quite normal, but yeah, this is quite a bubble here. So she's been spotted several times in the nearby village of Twyford, and it's actually had quite a nice impact actually on the local community. So everyone has been assisting with the search. University of Southampton actually provided like heat-seeking technology and drones to help with the search. And also there's a team of sniffer dogs called superhounds that have been out looking for her as well. So, and then there was also, this is quite cute, the village primary school in Twyford, they've been writing poems and drawing pictures, you know, kind of in the plea that these poems will sort of bring her back home. And I think it also said that lots of the children, they're kind of going out with their families along the River Itchen at the weekends, hoping that they're going to find her. But I'm hoping I'm going to find her. I want to be in the local news as the person who found Samba, but they've got a better chance than me because they live closer to where she is. So it's also attracted global attention as well. So a news team in Chicago reported on this, but they said a capybara has escaped from a zoo in the village of Hampshire. I was like, oh, come on, guys. Like, you know, it's quite easy to find out where somewhere is and actually confirm the proper like place and everything.
You know, when you said you want to be the person to find said, was it capybara?
Yeah, capybara.
Have you actually been out to look for it though?
Stu's in quite a bad mood tonight. I don't know if anybody's noticed.
You just said you were. I just wonder, have you been out? No, have you? No, did you? Did you?
I have been out when I first, you know, when they first released that video of someone finding it on their dog walk, because I thought that was the Water Meadows, but it wasn't. It was actually further up the river at Twyford.
Yeah.
So she's not. Yeah, I'm not walking to Twyford.
Okay, well, look, that's a lovely story about some adorable animals. We've got a few animal stories tonight. Let's stay with adorable animals. Gemma, you have been looking into an incredibly beautiful new species of pit viper, I
I
believe.
have. So from deepest, darkest Hampshire to deepest, darkest Cambodia.
Ooh.
I really want to ping you the picture actually before I go any further. I should have pinged it earlier, but I'm
Oh,
pinging it now so you can have a butcher's
there it
I
is.
tell you all about the beastie.
Oh, I say. It's green.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful turquoise.
Wow,
Oh.
that is a lovely green.
Caught my eye.
That would make a lovely handbag.
Tell us all about it, Gemma.
In deepest, darkest Cambodia, a place so untouched that scientists literally had to crawl through narrow gaps and pitch black tunnels just to see what was hiding inside. And what they found is honestly, as you've seen, totally beautiful. Because among the bats, the geckos, and the glittering millipedes, researchers have just discovered a brand new species of pit viper. We're talking fluorescent turquoise scales, a triangular head, and viper confidence. I mean, can you imagine living in a cave and still managing to look that fabulous?
Close to that fabulous living in a house, so I've got no chance.
They're clearly taking some sort of collagen supplement, aren't they?
Oh yeah, all the collagen. This stunning snake was uncovered during a multi-year biodiversity survey led by Fauna and Flora in partnership with Cambodia's Ministry of Environment. The team explored more than 60 caves across 10 limestone hills in Battambang province, many of them previously unstudied. These caves act like tiny evolutionary islands, each with its own cast of characters found nowhere else on Earth. And the pit viper wasn't alone. The same survey revealed a flying snake, several new gecko species, micro snails, and millipedes, at least 11 new species in total, with more still being formally described. It's basically nature's version of a surprise party, but with more scales. Scientists say this turquoise viper is still undergoing the official naming process. It belongs to a particular genus, which are known for heat-sensing pits that help them track warm-blooded prey in total darkness. So they've basically got built-in night vision goggles, and they're still making it look chic. What makes this discovery even more heartwarming is what it represents. These caves are part of Cambodia's karst landscapes, which cover about 9% of the country and remain some of the least explored ecosystems in Southeast Asia. Each cave is like a sealed time capsule, isolated, ancient, and bursting with life that has evolved in complete secrecy. Scientists describe them as island laboratories where evolution runs the same experiment over and over, producing wildly different results. And here's the best part. Every new species discovered strengthens the case for protecting these landscapes. Conservationists say the turquoise viper and its cave-dwelling neighbours are powerful reminders of how much biodiversity is still out there, unseen, unstudied, and absolutely worth saving. A breathtaking new pit viper has stepped into the spotlight, reminding us that the world is still full of wonder, colour, and creatures we've yet to meet. And honestly, I think that's pretty magical.
Well, it just goes to show what you can find if you go hanging around caves.
You're a bit fraudy.
Let's stick with animals. Let's move on to the sperm whale. There's been some wonderful sperm whale news this week, which again, Gemma, I think you're going to talk us through.
I am. So last week, scientists released something extraordinary, the first full, detailed account of a sperm whale birth ever recorded. And it all began on a calm July morning off Dominica, when researchers from Project CETI realised the whales they were observing weren't foraging, they were gathering. Unit A, a family of 11 sperm whales descended from matriarchs Lady Oracle and Fruit Salad. What?
I think they're called that, aren't they?
Is that like when you get a shoal of fish, you get a fruit salad of whales? Is that what it is?
Are you sure you've got that right, Stu?
Is it like
Like a gaggle of geese.
gaggle geese?
Yeah.
Do you know what a group of parrots are called in that context?
Oh, are they? Are they called like? I know it. Is it something like a?
It's my favourite one, pandemonium. So it's what? It's just like fruit salad of whales. Is that right, Gemma?
That's exactly it, Stu. That is the collective noun for all whale group.
I feel like this is some kind of bizarre fever dream that I'm trapped in this week.
Is the whale's name fruit salad? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, Unit A, a family of 11 sperm whales descended from matriarchs called Lady Oracle and Fruit Salad. Quite contrasting names, aren't they?
It's a bit like the end of The Apprentice, where people get fired and they have to say, thank you for the opportunity, Lord Sugar, Baroness Brady, and Tim.
They'd formed a tight circle around a female. We also have the name of her, Rounder.
I don't know if that's rude or not, but I mean, in all fairness, she was pregnant.
She was, so maybe that's what I just was thinking of.
Oh,
like
so it's
the
all right to go
name.
around and call pregnant women Rounder, is it?
When I was pregnant many, many years ago, like it was a long time, everyone at work started calling me Pudding.
I mean, it's quite adorable, but at the same time,
Or the fruit salad of Wales.
I'd like us to get to the end of this story
I'm
before
really
one
sorry.
of us dies.
Normally, the 11 members of Unit A would be spaced out to forage, but on this morning, they were grouped together, all facing a female named Rounder. Moments later, a dark gush of blood appeared, followed by the tiny tail of a calf emerging tail first, the safest way for a whale to be born underwater. Newborns cannot swim immediately after birth, so they must be lifted to the surface to take their first breaths. What happened next was pure ocean-deep cooperation. The entire family worked together to lift the newborn to the surface for its first breath. They took turns supporting it for hours. They even formed a protective barrier to keep curious pilots, whales, and Fraser's dolphins at bay. They also kept other animals at bay during the birth. And it wasn't just close relatives helping. Aunts, cousins, and even unrelated females joined in. A juvenile named Ariel, not related to the calf, stayed close, possibly practicing mothering skills. Meanwhile, the whale's vocalizations changed. More clicks, different patterns, almost like a collective gasp or cheer. The most frequent was the 1+1+3 coda, a clan identity call that reinforces belonging. When Project CETI analysed the drone footage with machine learning, they uncovered the first quantifiable evidence that a non-primate species assists in birth in a coordinated way. And the best news, a year later, the calf was spotted again, alive, healthy, thriving. A rare moment, a remarkable family, and a reminder that even in the deep ocean, cooperation is a lifeline.
It's just like something that you see, like most animals, like on land, they kind of just have to get on with it themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, they actually needed each other in that situation, and it's like they're trained and they know what to do, and everyone had their job.
Exactly.
Yeah, amazing.
Let's continue on with another animal story. Well, it's a prison story and an animal story. Normally when prisons are in the news, it's one of three things: they're overcrowded, they're falling apart, or someone on Facebook's decided they're all basically centre parks but with bars. I have to say, one of the most irritating recurring myths in British public life is the idea that prisons are somehow soft, that inmates are all lying around in fluffy robes enjoying a light Pilates class before a therapeutic panini and a little lie down. The actual reality of prison, both here and elsewhere, is usually quite a bit grimmer than that. There's overcrowding, boredom, violence, mental health problems, isolation. Very little that actually helps people come out less broken than they went in. In England and Wales, prison overcrowding's been so bad that the government's repeatedly had to use early release schemes just to stop the system running out of room entirely. So reporting last year said male prisons were operating at around 99% capacity and on course to run out of space again. So it's not exactly the Ritz with barbed wire. It's not even Butlins. But into this bleak and extremely British atmosphere comes a cat. In some prisons, lots of cats. So it's not just a prison story, it's a cat story. There are some prison programs and prison ground cat schemes where inmates help look after stray or community cats. Now, I fully accept that this sounds a bit like the setup to a children's book written during a nervous breakdown. Mr. Tibbles goes to category C or something like that. But it is true, and there is something actually quite powerful in all this. So in Chile, for example, almost 100 cats living in the Santiago Sur Criminal Detention Centre received veterinary care through a joint programme involving humane welfare groups, and reporting said that many inmates have formed strong bonds with the cats. They were already trying to care for them despite limited resources. The cats were spayed and neutered, they were vaccinated, they were treated for wounds and parasites, and given proper support. In the US, you've got advocacy groups like Alley Cat Allies. They've worked with prisons on trap, neuter, return programs, helping prison-based cat populations avoid being trapped and taken to shelters where many would be euthanised. There's a couple of good bits of news here. The cats get safety care and a better chance of survival, and the humans get responsibility and emotional connection and a little bit of softness in a hard environment. So quite a bit more rehabilitation there than a lot of justice secretaries have managed. I want to tell you about one particular prison in Michigan. I think you're going to love this. So most inmates in there now own cats, but only inmates with good behaviour earn the right to become cat parents. So you
Good, as it should be.
Absolutely. If you misbehave, you get your cat taken away. So the prison runs regular checks. If you mess up, yeah, your cat gets taken away from you.
Oh no, that's cruel, taking the cat away.
Well, that's what happens if they misbehave.
Oh, I don't know if I agree with that, actually.
Well, let me tell you how it's worked, because it's been really effective. So
I feel upset.
what they wanted to do, they rehomed 500 homeless cats from nearby cities by pairing them with prison inmates. And there were critics who were concerned that these hardened criminals would hurt the cats and abuse them. But instead, these muscular tattooed men just turned into complete softies. Suddenly everybody wanted a cat. So they started working harder, studying more just to earn money for cat clothes and for toys. They clean litter trays, they groom their cats, they save up their commissary money for treats. Prison Talk is all about how to care for cats properly. Inmates build little cat towers together. Some of them have learnt to knit so they can make sweaters for each other's cats.
Oh, the cats must love that. You know how
Well,
much
you know,
cats
what a
love
brilliant
having
thing for
clothes.
if you're a cat and suddenly you've got a human with nothing else to do with their time to basically just look after you. I mean, yeah, that's just what cats expect, isn't it? But how brilliant for that. They were having problems getting people to adopt these stray cats, so they were facing euthanasia. Most of them had been abused or abandoned, so they were distrustful, they were hard to place. But they've found a home in the prison where patience has won them over. The cats have opened up, they found warm homes, and the inmates have learned how to be sort of warm and kind. So it's a mutual redemption thing. The inmates feel unconditional love in return. They take responsibility and become better people. Since the programme launched, violent incidents and rule violations have dropped by 300%. Apparently, a fight did break out when one inmate called another inmate's cat ugly, but otherwise, you know, it's all good. I think, honestly, I think this whole thing makes a lot of sense, right? If prison's a place that strips away things like autonomy and trust and routine and tenderness, then, you know, giving someone a purpose, that's quite a profound thing to do.
Cat's shit.
Yeah, basically. So now what they're getting, the inmates are getting responsibility and patience and gentleness and routine and a relationship that's based on, well, it's not based on threat or hierarchy or anything like that. I mean, that's better than some people get in the workplace, right? Do you think animals can get past people's defences in a way that humans often can't?
Definitely.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think cats, they've really learned like their own little ways of communicating with humans, haven't they? They've really sort of developed over like all this time a way to live side by side us and survive off of us. So I think that's probably why it works.
I think so. And I think being trusted to care for something changes the way that we see ourselves and how we feel about ourselves, right? I think prison says, I mean, they've always been very good at punishment, but they're not very good at helping people turn into more functional and emotionally regulated human beings. But I think this story is a really useful one because I think it punctures one of the dumbest right-wing myths in circulation, which is this idea that if anything remotely humane happens in a prison, it means prison is too nice. And therefore, you know, that's unacceptable. A prisoner must not experience one single moment of emotional regulation or civilization will collapse. If you're going to spend your whole time making everything as bleak and dehumanizing as possible, don't act surprised when people come out worse.
That's why they change category levels, don't they, through prisons? Because you can actually move from like a higher category to a lower one if you're improving. So, if you were like absolutely just like Hannibal Lecter, you're probably not going to be allowed to go and have a cat, are you?
Well, possibly not. But just had Hannibal Lecter been given a cat and managed to avoid eating it, it might have really awakened his softer side.
Maybe, but even that, or he would have just ended up with some really nice mittens.
Maybe so. I think he probably just allowed the cat's evil side to come out too. I think one thing to just remember with this is it's not just a fluffy human interest gimmick. It's good for the cats too, because these are unwanted, vulnerable cats. They're at risk of illness or being euthanized, and they end up in a nice, safe environment where they get food and care and people obsessing over it. I think that's the only prison reform policy I've heard of that sounds both humane and like a Pixar movie combined.
Yeah, so I didn't know. Just one question, but did you say that they got veterinary care as well? The cats got, so it came. Oh, see, that is really good, because then you think about all those stray cats, and they would just be like captured or euthanized, or they get like FIV and all kinds of things, don't they? So
Yeah.
they can be looked after. Yeah, that makes sense. Put the cats in prison.
All right, let's move on from animal stories. I want to talk about something I think is actually quite important, also slightly sinister, which is that Meta has just lost a major court case in the US over harm caused to a young user. Now, what interests me about this isn't just the verdict itself, it's that I think we might be reaching the point where society is finally starting to ask a much more useful question about social media. Not do kids spend too much time on their phones, because yes, obviously they do, but have some of the biggest companies in the world deliberately built products that are designed to be hard for children to stop using? Because that's a very different and frankly much more alarming question. Before I start banging on, and I will be banging on, what did you all make of this when you saw it?
Well, I know I was really quite pleased about, because I mean, I just thought, because they've just been like this impossible force to stand up to, haven't they? Like they won't take any responsibility for anything, and suddenly they have been forced to take some responsibility. And
Well, hopefully.
yeah, well, it's been put out there, hasn't it? But for those parents, because they didn't really, I think it's really hard when you just feel like you are normal people. How do you take on those huge organizations? Yet they have managed to.
Absolutely. So just to pin down what's actually happened here, this wasn't just someone saying Instagram made me feel bad. An LA jury found Meta and Google, YouTube, liable in what's been described as the first social media addiction trial to reach a jury verdict. The plaintiff argued that she became addicted to Instagram and YouTube from a young age and suffered serious mental health harms. The jury found the companies were negligent and have failed to adequately warn about the risks. Both companies deny wrongdoing. They are expected to appeal. But that does feel like quite a shift, doesn't it? Because it's no longer a question of whether teenagers are on their phones too much. It's about whether companies have deliberately built digital slot machines for children and called it innovation. Do you think it is a genuine landmark moment, or is it just one of those things that sounds enormous and then is going to disappear into appeals and legal fog for 5 years?
Yeah, it's done real harm, isn't it, to teenagers and children? There's a whole generation who've been damaged by this. And social media, TikTok, Facebook, they are built on gaming structures and mechanisms to keep scrolling and addicted. So no, I think there's a real sea change. And Australia have obviously done the pilot. And I think there is a real pushback. I think we're beginning to see how dangerous this has been. It's been like the Wild West, hasn't it?
Very much so. I'll come on to Australia shortly. I think there's a risk with this story that it turns into phones bad, children's ruined, bring back conkers. The truth is a bit more complicated than that. The evidence is worrying. It is also, though, a little bit messy. The US Surgeon General has said there's not enough evidence to say social media is safe for children and adolescents, and there's growing evidence of harm, particularly around mental health and well-being. Up to 95% of 13 to 17-year-olds use a social media platform, and more than a third say they use it almost constantly. So it's not a niche issue by any stretch. So it does feel like we're moving a little bit beyond there are concerns now. One thing I don't know if you agree with this, do you think we've just normalised levels of compulsion use that would absolutely terrify us in any other product category?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we can see the effects, can't we, of the harm coming through. So, like gambling as well, isn't it? You know, that was opened up, wasn't it, by Tony Blair's government, I think 1997, wasn't it? And look at the harm and the damage that's done to society as well. And I think social media for children is dangerous. You know, in law, it's known, isn't it, especially for the male and boy's brain doesn't develop until 21, 22. So if you've got like 13, 14-year-olds who are being quite overwhelmed by, you know, the addictive nature of some of these apps, then it's going to do real damage. You know, these companies are going to kick back. It's all very well them saying that's not our responsibility. It's up to you how you manage it, and it's up to the parents. But ultimately, they've released something that's really dangerous. So why does the responsibility have to be on society? There should be a pushback. But as I said earlier, you know, the tobacco industry, it took about 50, 60 years, didn't it, for them to prove.
Oh yeah,
you know, that they knew in the 50s and 60s, didn't they, that smoking caused lung cancer, but they suppressed it, didn't they? Same with oil, the same strategy as well, isn't it, is to effectively push back because they've got a business to protect.
Yeah, and this whole problem of causation and correlation is a challenge as well. So can you prove that social media is damaging? That's what I think. There's another really interesting story. I don't know if you saw it this week. There's a new study starting in the UK. There's a trial involving 300 teenagers to see what actually happens when social media access is restricted. So some of them are going to have social apps disabled entirely. Some are going to have them blocked overnight. Some are going to be kept to an hour a day, and there'll also be a control group with no restrictions at all. And then they can see between those groups what difference it makes. And that's running alongside a wider scientific study looking at things like well-being, sleep, anxiety, relationships, school life, all of that stuff. So rather than following any sort of media hysteria, the government is attempting to gather evidence before deciding on a course of action, which sounds bizarrely sensible, doesn't it? What do you think they're going to find?
I think if you've got teenagers that are kind of willing to try, that's going to be a bit different, isn't it? It's when you impose it on the ones that don't want. I mean, I remember like teen parenting and then trying to like limit screen time or take things away as a consequence.
Yeah.
It was like I was trying to murder him. Yeah, it honestly, you would have thought I was just like, I don't know. Yeah, the anger, and because it was, and this is sort of like 10 years ago or so, and that was already, and obviously then we weren't really recognizing the full extent of the damage. And I look back and I think, oh wow, I really really wish I'd never let my son near any of that stuff. And because
I'm trying to make a drug addict to go cold turkey, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think a lot of the problem was that it was all becoming new to me as well. Like, I sort of started using lots of social media in like my very like late teens, early 20s, and so I didn't really realize. And I thought, oh, actually, and and like he started going on stuff because they had like lots of games and things on Facebook, so he would use mine to like play all these like games and stuff. And so I was a bit, that seemed harmless, but that was already opening the door to then him wanting own social media and things when he got older. But we just didn't realize then.
Well, we all walked into it, didn't we?
Yeah.
There was this like new thing where it was fun, wasn't it? Everyone was uploading pictures of cats and funny things and sort of family members, and it was all quite innocent. But
Mm.
those tech companies knew exactly what they were doing, So we all walked in, uploaded all our data, and we're all connected, and that's all very well, isn't it? With, if you say to like a teenager or a child now, you mustn't, have this screen time. It's like Jim said, it's like an addiction. So of course they're going to get angry because they miss it. Because if we're going to say that to kids, we've got to do it as well. Do you want to do that?
Well, I think this is interesting.
Do you want to limit?
If you ran this trial on adults,
Yeah.
what would happen? Because I think genuinely, if you ran this on adults, half the country would discover they don't have hobbies; they just have scrolling.
Well, yeah,
Or any friends.
exactly. So as parents, we're in denial. And it's all very, if you said to your kid, right, you're only allowed an hour a day, and they go, well, what about you? I think we would find it, I think we would find it difficult to limit ourselves to an hour as well. So I think we're addicted as well. And then I think we've just effectively brought the next generation through, and they're addicted also.
Mm.
I think the subject of bans is interesting too. I mean, obviously, you mentioned Australia, Stu. They've gone furthest so far. They require platforms to take reasonable steps to stop under 16s from having accounts on major social media services. It's not a ban. It's often lazily described as that. It's not. It's just putting the onus on the provider of the service rather than the end user. But a growing number of governments are now looking at similar moves or tougher restrictions. So it's not just old people shouting about apps. It is about governments around the world taking notice these products might not be especially good for children. But do you think bans are the answer? Or is it just governments doing the easiest viable thing?
I don't like bans. I don't like banning anything because effectively, where do you stop? But at the same time,
do you risk making it seem more desirable by banning it?
There is an element of that, but in society, once you start going down that banning route, where do you finish? But I think it's good that Australia and now Europe and Britain are looking at it. I think it's good to make a start. And whilst kids are going to get around all these like blocks and bans, there's 3 letters there, isn't there? VPN. It's a start, isn't it? At least we're having the conversation. We're talking about it now, which is important. And I genuinely do think in about 30, 40 years' time, we will look back and think, what the hell were we doing letting our kids look at that whilst not really monitoring it or really understanding it ourselves? And we talked about even the show, didn't we, the Manosphere? Well, that we can all see those guys on that program are childlike and really quite silly little men, but at the same time I don't think they believe it either, but they get to sell all their protein packs and their pills, and they're grifters, but they're effectively selling cigarettes to children, and they don't care. But when you've got like 13, 14-year-olds, especially boys, looking at that and they're telling them that's what a man is, that's really dangerous for society. It's really dangerous. But then you've then got to look at what's happening around the world, I think, as well. Look at the president of the United States.
I'd rather not.
But
I was about to say that.
but when society and kids are looking at that, they probably think, well, if you can get to be president by being like that, well, maybe I should.
I kind of hope he's a wake up. I think enough people are looking at him in absolute disgust and revulsion that I hope he's a turning point, but maybe not.
I just think young boys especially are at risk. So are girls. But this whole thing, they're creating this artificial world where boys and girls are just not being told the truth about each other, are they? So they've just got this artificial view.
The problem for me with a ban is I think there's this big difference between saying children shouldn't be online, which is basically what a ban's doing, and children shouldn't be products designed to maximize compulsion, because that's actually the more honest part of it, isn't it?
So well, it is, but
the text defense does seem to be, we merely built the machine.
Yeah.
We didn't force anyone to live inside.
Yeah. But is that good enough? Is that responsible enough? And actually, how do we now stop that? because they're they're very influential, the tech companies all around the world, and these people are effectively running the world.
They are. And this is why I think this court case this week was such an important milestone. We've now got a jury saying, no, they deliberately created something that was designed to be addictive, fed it to children. And this is completely wrong. And of course, what this does do, hopefully now, is open up a ton more lawsuits all around the world that are geared up, ready to go. I think this is really important.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
It's very easy to talk about social media like it's weather or something. It's just there. But it isn't just there. It was designed on purpose by companies for outcomes. And if that outcome is that millions of children are losing sleep, losing focus, feeling worse, struggling to stop using the thing, at some point you've just got to ask, what is this? Is it a communication tool or is it a dependency product? And the good news is the noise around that discussion just got turned up to the loudest it's ever been. Well, it's nearly that wonderful time of year where we celebrate nailing a guy to a piece of wood for saying that people should be nice to each other. And here was some fascinating news about that very person is Shelley. Last year, you gave us, 10 things that you didn't know about
Little
Jesus.
known facts about Jesus.
And certainly there were things I weren't aware of. I can't wait to hear what you've got for us this year.
This is news about anyone who was a fan of Jesus. And
Well,
also,
he's not been U-treed, has he?
I'm a big fan of Jesus.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
I think he seemed quite nice.
He's a prophet across many religions, isn't he?
So, what do you prefer though, Carpenter Jesus or Baby Jesus?
Which Jesus? Sorry,
Baby Jesus or Carpenter Jesus?
I think this story would make me more of a fan of Carpenter Jesus.
Yeah, but that's not. We like Baby Jesus, don't we, Jim?
Tell me, Stuart, when you go out, like in the evening, do you order your own personal Jesus, or do you get a Jesus for the whole table to share?
Who are they called?
Fish Road.
That's right. Well done. Is that where we were going with that?
I don't know where I was going with that.
Let's where we're going.
Bring in the Jesus news. We need to get on.
I think the reason I brought in Baby Jesus is because when I shared a room a couple of times with Jim, when he goes to sleep, he looks like little baby Jesus.
They're like a little light shining down on him.
I say, go to sleep, little baby Jesus.
And he wonders why I don't want to share hotel rooms with him.
Anyway, Easter is here, which is my favourite time of year still. I haven't changed my opinion of that. It is the best holiday. So it's special not just for the fact that it's a 4-day bank holiday and there's chocolate, but it's time for us to celebrate the resurrection of Christ. He really did think ahead though, didn't he? Because he did then wait 3 days before he came back so that we could have a 4-day bank holiday. I will always be grateful. I think you kind of answered this a little bit weirdly enough, but I hope you won't be offended. But how would you rate Jesus looks wise?
I think he's quite hot, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it depends how you imagine Jesus, if it's likely that he's tall, dark and handsome.
Yeah, well, I imagine him sort of, I imagine him as black, actually, black Jesus. Historically, he probably would have been, wouldn't he?
I think he would have looked sort of Middle Eastern.
Yeah, but that's even cooler. That's what I mean. Yeah. That's how I see Jesus, with a loincloth on there. I
think, you're going to be really invested in this then. So there is a group of gay and trans nuns in San Francisco.
Sorry?
I'm so excited. I'm drooling.
They sound a bit zesty.
There is a group of gay and trans nuns in San Francisco called the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. They are a charity that was established in 1979 who devoted themselves to community service and promoting human rights, respect for diversity and spiritual enlightenment. And their site says that they use humour and irreverent wit to expose the forces of bigotry, complacency, and guilt that chain the human spirit. So every year, the sisters hold an annual Easter celebration, which is free to attend, and it's called Easter in the Park, and that will be held this weekend at Dolores Park on Sunday, Easter Sunday, April 5th. So it includes like live music, drag performances, there's an Easter bonnet contest, but the highlight of this that drew me in is the Hunky Jesus contest. This is like kind of a Jesus-like beauty pageant, if you like. Gemma, you look like you have questions.
Is it too late to organise another pod outing?
I mean, I think we've got time to get to San Francisco. So that this has become so popular. There are so many Hunky Jesuses out there that the sisters have to have a backstage pre-screening, so only the very hunkiest Jesus gets to make it on and into the finals and onto the stage. Would you like to see some pictures from previous years?
Damn, yeah.
Would I?
Let me...
So, just for the purposes of the podcast, we're now looking at pictures of Hunky Jesus.
Hunky Jesus. I nearly sent it to like the wrong group.
Nearly go to your family group.
Yeah, I never explained to my mum. So there's one. That's a little example.
I think the one in the middle looks fun.
It does. I'm not sure the one on the right really counts.
No.
Look at this one, really, really putting in some effort there.
Oh, that's
the cross and everything. Yeah.
that's some serious cosplay there, isn't there? Going on.
Yeah.
A little wave to the crowd. I like to think Jesus would have showboated one carrying his cross up to down to it.
Wait for this though. Wait for this. This is
this the hunkiest Jesus of all?
This is the hunkiest Jesus. Oh my!
That is a buff Jesus.
Yeah, I still think the first picture in the middle, he looks more fun. You know, I think he'd be more, sharing.
So party Jesus, you're more up for party.
I think he's party Jesus. Yes, Gemma. I think he is. I think he'd be sharing out the blood of Christ, wouldn't he? It'll be.
Yeah. Do you think
getting high on that, wouldn't we?
Really hunky Jesus might not be as interesting.
I think he looks it'd be a bit boring, I think. He'd just sort of tell me about his workout routines and his skincare routines. Whereas I think party Jesus, I think you're going to have some fun there. What do you think?
Wearing shades, isn't it?
What do you think?
No, I think you might be right. Yeah, he might be a little bit too into his reps.
I quite like the Jesus with the red sash though. His hair is amazing.
Yeah, he's a good one.
He's got good hair.
Yeah.
I think the one in the middle with the cross, I think he looks a bit earnest to me, if I'm honest.
You don't want your Jesus too earnest?
No, I think he's too earnest. You said as a competition, my vote would go to Party Jesus. So are you going Party Jesus, Jim?
Yeah, I'll go with Party Jesus.
Gemma, what are you voting for?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you
overwhelmed?
You've taken on the role of head judge, so I'm kind of.
I'm just trying to collate it. You can pick what you like. Now, buff Jesus, earnest Jesus.
Yeah, Gemma, are you overwhelmed?
I am slightly overwhelmed.
Would you like to, we could make a calendar, couldn't we? We could go on to photo box or something and make a Jesus calendar. So apparently though, they're also they've been making a documentary about this. And
who's your favourite one, Shelley?
Well, I do actually think my favourite one is the one with the hair and the red sash.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, I do think it is his hair. That hair is just amazing.
Do you think Party Jesus maybe just a bit too much? I think the one with the sash could have a good time, but I think he knows when to rein it in a little bit.
I think, I don't know. He looks like he'd make sure you get home safe.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah, he definitely would call you.
I mean, Party Jesus, you wouldn't get home safe, would you?
Yeah,
Party
and that
Jesus,
looks like it's definitely
he wouldn't know
his
when
real...
to start, would he? For him, getting crucified is every night.
He has to hold Party Jesus's hair back while he's vomiting.
I mean, you haven't disappointed with this Jesus news, Shelley.
I know, but
This is incredible.
do you want to know about the documentary?
Yeah,
So there is going to be a documentary which they are going to call Hunky Jesus, and it's going to premiere this year at London. I'm just really typing this out quickly. It's going to be premiere at the London LGBTQIA plus film festival. So I think that's what we need to get to. But it will follow some of the sisters and actually look into the work that they carry out and look into some of the history of their organisation as well, including their frontline response to the AIDS epidemic. So I think it's going to be a really good documentary as well, actually.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, yes.
Well, how do you follow that? That feels like a good place to end it. This week, we've learned that Nigel Farage can be defeated by public mockery, Jesus is hot, and social media may in fact be a legally actionable attention vacuum. So, if nothing else, we've covered the essentials. And I suppose that's the point of the show, really, isn't it? The world is often stressful, stupid, noisy, and held together with what looks like damp string, but it's also full of strange, decent, funny little things that remind you not to give up completely. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you to Gemma, Shelley, and Stuart. If you've enjoyed this, do subscribe, follow, review, recommend us to a friend, or just shout about us in a car park like a modern town crier. We'll be back next week with more good news, more bad jokes, and more evidence that civilization may yet stagger onward. I've been Jim, and this has been Everything's Fine.